भिन्न पद्मजाण्डकोश सन्तति दृष्टिपात नष्ट पाप जाल मुग्र शासनम् अष्टसिद्धिदायकम् कपालमालिकन्दरम् काशिकापुराधिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे नायकं विशालकीर्तिदायकं काशीवासलोकपुण्यपापशोधकं विभुं नीतिमार्गकोविदं पुरातनं जगत्पतिं काशिकापुराधिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे कालभैरवाष्टकं पठन्ति ये मनोहरं ज्ञानमुक्तिसाधनं विचित्रपुण्यवर्धनं शोकमोहदैन्यलोभकोपतापनाशनं ते प्रयान्ति कालभैरवाङ्घ्रिसन्निधिं ध्रुवं काशिकापुराधिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे काशिकापुराधिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे कालभैरवं भजे कालभैरवं भजे
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Requires a mind free from the pleasures of extroverted pursuits. A mind that remains calm, composed, and is turned introvert. One attains toward it. Alone remains. You realize your divine self. The sustained physical, mental. A mind thus turned introvert is made to chant a mantra that insists the single thought flow, but isn't thought to the exclusion of all other thoughts. Being observing the chant, absolute reality Brahman. The intellect meditation is a scientific technique to awareness.
Okay, Hari Om. Let's start.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, we'll continue our discussion from where we left off on meditation, the technique of meditation. Before we start, are there any questions?
We were talking about desires and to, get rid of them. I mean, at our age, it's very easy because, we've gone through everything. We've seen ups and downs. It's very easy. But for children, it just doesn't seem. How can you try to tell them about controlling their desires? Because then you almost feel you would stop them from going forward or having that fire in them to achieve. how can one keep a balance in that? Was my. I mean, it's easy for us. We're
There are two things I'd like to address in your question. First is it's easy for us.
yeah, we've seen everything, we've done everything. How?
So every old person should become self-realized pretty easily. That
Yeah,
is-
I think so. I think we all do. As we grow older, we've seen so much.
बालस्तावत् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीसक्तः वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तासक्तः. Every age band has its own set of desires. Sure, you don't have a desire for I don't know, things and vacations and experiences. Perhaps you've either out of choice or out of circumstance. Now you're too old to travel. Can't have the desire. Uh, but you have the desire. You have the worry. The desire, perhaps, for
The children?
knowing the uncertainty of the unknown. There is the fear. Vriddhastava chinta sakta, he says. In the Bhaja Govinda, Mahadi Shankaracharya says, in old age, you're riddled with worry. In young age, the child is entangled in playthings. In youth, the person is entangled in indulgences, material indulgences, emotional indulgences. Everything is frozen on my screen.
We can hear you.
Sir, we can hear you clearly.
Are you there?
या आपका
Right.
लास्ट
Can hear
सेंटेंस
you.
ठीक से समझ में नहीं आया किसी को भी
Because I saw everyone on my screen is frozen. So I realized that I'm not being audible. Okay. बालस्तावत् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीसक्तः वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तासक्तः. Adi Shankaracharya says that at every age you're riddled with your own types of desires, your own types of entanglements. And for that age, getting out of that is difficult. It's not that, oh, I am old, so it should be very easy for me. You have your own sets of your wish list, your worry list. You're worried about, अब मेरा आगे क्या होगा? Or riddled with regrets, trying to perhaps resolve a lot of things before, I don't know. I'm not there yet. I'll only know what vriddha stava chinta sakta means when I'm vriddha.
No, I get what you mean. Yes, worries are always there, but I didn't put the worries with the desires.
What is a worry? A worry is just it's a morph of a desire only. You worry about something because you wish it to be a certain way, and perhaps it's not. You're worrying. Oh, what if it doesn't turn out that way? That's worry. So it's just a different form of a desire. So it's not that just because you're old, you have your own set of entanglements. No doubt, the bulk of material indulgences, we hope that people rise above. The same Adi Shankaracharya says, old age comes, but the band of desires leaves not. Your tooth will fall off, your skin will turn saggy, but the band of desires will leave not. So desires are not so simple. If it was so simple, then every older person would be relatively detached enough to, So if it was automatic with age, then this whole world would be a different place. Unfortunately, it's not automatic. Second point, but your point is taken that yes, in youth, it's a more natural age to have a lot more extroverted material. I mean, some less, some more. Some are more introverts, some are more extroverts. Some have less desire, some are more. But that's the age to perhaps Seize the day, carpe diem, right? You have to like make the most of the opportunity. Absolutely. Now the question of balance will only come if you've misunderstood what we are trying to say. Let me tell that also. There's no balance required. See, balance is only required when you have to increase another, reduce another, that's balance. We're not asking you to balance your desire. We're not asking you to limit your desire. We're asking you to purify it. We're asking you to give it a higher direction. With the higher direction, there'll be an increased intensity. We're asking you to turn your desire from selfish to unselfish. We're asking you to turn your desire from gross to subtle. So with your same, see, you have a certain propensity, you have a certain nature of what you're inclined to. Whatever you're inclined to do, whichever field, anashita karma phalam karyam karma karoti. That's the definition of yoga. That's the definition of sannyas. So only a person, it's a difficult message to, because we always used to the idea that, okay, spirituality means lessening our worldly desires. There's no lessening, nor is there increasing. It's about purifying. It's about transforming. How do you live in the world like a yogi? How do you be a leader of people like a yogi? So when you attune to the spirit of yoga, no balance is required. You'll express a tejas. It's called tejas. The word is tejas. There'll be a luster, spiritual luster. You'll be glowing. Be it a material field or a spiritual field, as per the situation, you'll have that appropriate glow. So it's a misunderstanding that you need to balance. You need to monkey balance your material indulgences and your spiritual interests. No, it's about infusing spirituality into your whatever engagements. So does that
So basically you're saying you do karma yoga and simple. Yoga here means you're pointing out to doing karma yoga. Like if I am a businessman, I do my business very well. I make a lot of money. All that is good, but I just increase my purview of things that I only don't think about my family, and probably I think about the society also. I earn money for my family also, and when I make more money, then I redistribute to the society in my way.
Absolutely. See, that's simplifying it a little, but yes, in a gist, you can say that's one of the core essential aspects of it, right? Increasing your circle of identification, and we all know you can't do karma without having some spirit of bhakti. You can't do karma without having some infusion of jnana. They're all interrelated. You won't have the knowledge of karma without, say, coming to a class like this. So jnana is also important, right? So it's about infusing the spiritual disciplines into your day-to-day life, making them sort of the following the tenets of these.
What Renuji was alluding to, that how does she help the younger generation to understand this? Because everybody in general thinks this only, that being spiritual or doing karma yoga means that you leave everything aside. Probably she
Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, please don't tell anyone anything. Turn yourself attractive. If you are not attractive, nobody will be interested in you. If you apply this knowledge on yourself, you will turn attractive. Please understand this statement. If you apply this knowledge on yourself, you will turn attractive. If you're this is mathematical logic. If this, then that. The contrapositive is, if not that, then not this. If you're not attractive, that means there's no Vedanta, or there's little Vedanta in your life. And so, people are not interested in what you have to say. This is as true for you as it is for me. I can keep blabbering out here, but what I have to say will not matter as much as what I am living up to, right? So there's only one way of influencing others. There's only one way, and that's through your own example.
Thank you.
If that was your question, then this is the answer. Okay,
It's great.
we'll continue our discussion on meditation, the technique of meditation. He was, as is the theme in every chapter, removing some misconceptions and giving a proper definition to what is meditation. So we ended with the. We
So,
ended.
can I say only few words on this? डिजायर के ऊपर आपने बोला है
Please,
कि जब गणेश की मूर्ति हम देखते हैं तो चूहा जो होता है इट इज ए सिंबल ऑफ डिजायर, मतलब कि एवरीबॉडी इज राइडिंग ऑन दी डिजायर ओनली, एंड बट चूहा जो है ही इज ऑलवेज लुकिंग टुवर्ड्स गॉड. तो आपने जो अभी बोला है कि ऑल दी डिजायर्स, इफ यू लुक, if you have a spirituality in that, so desire will always become pure. Once that pure desire comes, then everything is okay. Other things are सब फालतू है. सिंपल चीज, अगर हमने जो गणेश की जब मूर्ति देखते हैं, हम लोग तो खाली लड्डू लुड्डू देखते हैं, ये देखते हैं, बट देर इज ए डीप डीप फिलोसफी इन दैट.
Absolutely.
This is what I want to see actually.
Next time, as Omji is saying, next time you see the Murti of Ganesh, you'll see the rat is always looking up there towards Ganesh. There's another symbolism, another related symbolism. See, the rat is at his feet. He's not at the rat's feet. Desire should be subservient to you, not the other way around. इच्छा है, no issues, nothing wrong with it, but it should flow according to your discretion. You shouldn't be slave to it. If you have discretion, then you are Ganesh. If you don't have discretion, if you are a slave to the desire, then you are less than a rat. That's the idea. Okay. So, meditation is the art of maintaining the mind in focus upon a chosen thought to the exclusion of all other thoughts. When you have brought your mind to a single pointed chant and you're chanting the mantra, the art of maintaining the mind on that single thought. The mind has a tendency to be unstable and to jump around everywhere. So, to keep the stability of the mind, the intellect keeps the mind on the chant. How does it keep the mind on the chant? By focusing itself on sound, silence, sound, silence, sound, silence. See, it's like, I don't know if you ever do this, but you're counting your steps. It requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of focus. Next time you're walking, count your steps till 100. If you say 100 is very easy, count your steps till 1,000. Taken an office nearby out here, exactly 1109 steps from my door to the office door. It's a good test of your intellect's capacity to hold the mind on that thought. What is the thought? Counting my steps. This is just a simple, we make it loud because it helps keep the mind in place, right? If it's not easy to hold it in your head, that's why we chant it loud. Say it loud. 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly with the mantra, in the beginning you have to say it aloud because it helps keep the focus. Eventually the mantra has to become internal, but the role of the intellect remains the same, to focus on the sound, silence, so that you can keep the chant going. Another role of the intellect is the chanchal nature of the mind, the tendency of the mind to jump from one thought to another. It has to control that as well. So asthira, it controls by focusing on sound, silence, and the chanchal nature of the mind, it focuses, or it fights by dismissing any thought that enters. So twofold role of the intellect. Any thought that enters, let it pass. Watch it. Watch it go by. Don't engage in it. So focusing on sound silence. Sound silence is the first role of the intellect. The second role is dismissing any unnecessary thought. That is keeping the mind in focus upon a chosen thought. That's what it means. The art of keeping the mind in focus upon a chosen thought to the exclusion of all other thought. This is a little more challenging than it sounds. And as you said, a mind that is cluttered with thoughts, a mind that is cluttered with desires, is very difficult to do this. You won't even be able to count your steps. Forget chanting a mantra. So, a mind that is prepared through the spiritual disciplines where the bulk of desires have been reduced, the quality of desires have been refined, the direction of desires are attuned to the spiritual path, where what you truly see, you have mumukshatra. Such a mind is qualified for this. So, meditation is a scientific technique. It's not something that someone just...
Pure consciousness, the absolute reality, Brahman.
It's not just some random process we're talking about. It's a scientific technique which has helped scores and scores of sages to attain the ultimate experience of enlightenment. There are texts on meditation. So this is just a primer, perhaps as a very essentially is giving you the essential aspects of the practice of meditation.
Meditation is a scientific technique to exhaust your thoughts and expose the Supreme Self within. The intellect plays an all-important role in it. Maintaining its control on the mind during the entire procedure. Meditation, therefore, is not a mere mechanical repetition of a mantra. The human mind has a tendency to be drawn to a particular object of being, tangible or intangible, even towards a deity. And its thoughts start to flow in that direction. If the intellect does not exercise its control over the mind, the thought flow continues. The mind has its way. It can cherish the thought of the object continuously for a period of time, as young lovers do. This is mere emotional indulgence, mental infatuation. When the mind runs in the direction of its desired object without the awareness of the intellect. Whereas meditation requires a disciplined effort by the practitioner. The intellect needs to be alert to keep the mind's focus on the chant, prevent it from slipping into any other thought. Such programmed, disciplined concentration on the chosen mantra is meditation.
See, simply repeating the Lord's name is not meditation. Yes, you have to be in love with the Lord. You have to have that natural capacity to repeat the Lord's name. You have to have that affinity. You have to have the mind shifted from worldly indulgence to your disinterest in the world, your interest only in the Lord. That is an essential, it's a prerequisite, but it's not sufficient. Over and above that, there has to be the control of the intellect. That's what he's saying. That simply when your mind wants repeating a certain thought, that is not meditation. It may be continuous, no doubt, but it's not, meditation is not a mechanical continuation. We think, okay, 108 बार एक मंत्र कर लेंगे तो कुछ गजब हो जाएगा. वो 100 बार is more of a practice. It's testing your capacity, but beyond simply repeating, you have to then bring focus in it. You have to then bring stability in it. You have to then bring the capacity to have single pointed thought in it. So the intellect needs to be alert. The intellect needs to be present in this repetition.
Uncontrolled, indisciplined thought flow is mental indulgence, whereas controlled, disciplined thought flow is concentration, is meditation. Both are flow of thoughts, but of opposite nature. They produce conflicting results. Mental indulgence increases your desires, while meditation raises your desires. They act like diarrhea and purgative, seemingly the same, but with a distinct difference. Diarrhea is a disease, while purgative is a remedy. Likewise, thoughts running after the world unchecked by a discerning intellect increases your desires, creates mental instability, whereas disciplined thought flow governed by the intellect decreases your desires. Finally, the practice of meditation annihilates your last desire and regains your supreme self.
See, very visual example, but he's giving that for a reason, to drive home a point. They're the same thing. Indulgence and meditation are both thought flow. Indulgence is merely uncontrolled thought flow, unregulated thought flow, indisciplined thought flow. We're entertaining a thought without the intellect's supervision, without the intellect's guidance, regardless of whether you should or should not be entertaining that thought. Meditation is guided thought flow, it's concentrated thought flow, it's regulated thought flow. Both are thought flows. It's how you're managing this chitta vritti, the thought stuff. How you're managing this thought stuff is what makes the difference. So one is like diarrhea, he says, and one is like purgative. Purgative is like vomiting. One is a disease, the other is a remedy, he says. So indisciplined thought flow will increase your desires. Please understand this. What increases desires? It is mental indulgence that increases desires. Indisciplined, unregulated, repeated thought. That's mental indulgence. When you think about something all the time and again, it creates attachment, it creates desire, it creates greed, it creates all sorts of other modifications. Dhyayato vishyan puntah sangasto shupajayate sangat sanjayate kaman krodha vijayate. Verse number 62 and 63 of chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. Please refer to it. That is the flow of mental indulgence. Mental indulgence only leads you deeper down the rabbit hole of desires. So mental indulgence leads to increase of desire. Unregulated, unguided, indisciplined thought flow leads to increase in desire. Guided, regulated thought flow leads to a reduction in desire. It leads to a raising of desires. So mental indulgence increases desire, meditation reduces desires. Meditation is like that fire which burns the camphor away. The final fire, the ultimate fire.
You cannot practice single-pointed meditation until you have risen well above attachment and desire. When your mind becomes free from worldly attraction and entanglement, remains under the control of the intellect, and you are objective in your transactions of life, the progress and success in meditation is therefore directly proportional to the preparation of the mind. Your mind must be cleansed before you reach the seat of meditation. The purer the mind, the easier it is to practice meditation. Purity of mind means rendering it free of desire and expectation, means renunciation, nothing less. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God, assures Christ. You must first gain the purity of mind. But people directly try to meditate without the initial preparation, without purifying their mind. They will not give up their attachment and desire, their hope and expectation, yearning and craving. They will not pay the price for what they seek. Those extroverted people living a material and sensual life wish to become the Buddha overnight.
See, a materialist thinks that money can buy everything. That they can buy their spiritual growth also. Or perhaps they don't even have that vision of spiritual enlightenment. All they want is a quick fix to their worldly entanglements. So, meditation is largely sought as a tool for gaining some kind of solace or peace. The true purpose of meditation has been lost. Even to gain solace and peace, meditation is not the right process. It gives a temporary peace, but it doesn't give you sustained happiness. Sustained peace is only possible through karma bhakti jnana, no other way. So, blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see God. But first, you have to purify your heart. Kabira, man nirmal bhayo. Kabir says, turn your mind pure, like the pure Ganga. Jaise Ganga neer. Piche piche hari phire, kehat Kabir Kabir. Then God will come after you. Then you will automatically turn meditative. Turn your mind pure, and you'll automatically turn meditative. There's no other way. There's no other way. So you can't become the Buddha overnight. But the journey of becoming the Buddha is beautiful. It's a gradual, slow process where each step is a learning, each step is a growth. And it's a very rewarding process. So the question is, are you in for a quick fix, or are you in for the real game?
Meditation is the highest spiritual practice. It requires pre-meditative preparation. Your mind must be rendered equanimous to be able to meditate effectively. To plunge into meditation directly without preparation is futile, even detrimental. The time spent in meditation is a small part of the day. The rest of the day you are preoccupied with worldly activities. Your activity during the day tells upon the practice of meditation. Egocentric, selfish activity agitates your mind, and an agitated mind cannot meditate. Whereas selfless, sacrificial activity makes your mind calm and composed, renders it conducive for meditation. The human mind is ulcerated by self-centered activity. Meditation cannot help heal the ulcerated mind if the activity during the day continues to be selfish. Just as a wound treated by a surgeon can never heal if you keep scratching and irritating it the rest of the day. This is the sad plight of those who claim to practice meditation, who sincerely try to meditate every day, while all day they indulge in desire-ridden, selfish activity. That ruins their effort in meditation. Continuing this way, their mind develops frustration, bitterness. they turn into ugly caricatures in life. Principle of meditation. The principle underlying meditation is as you think, so you become. Thinking is conscious thought force, not mere mental indulgence. When your mind on its own flows towards an object, instead, let your intellect set an objective, a goal in your life. Let it constantly channelize your thought and effort towards the goal. You shall gain your objective. The same principle works in the spiritual field. Set self-realization as your objective in life. Let your intellect shift the mind's focus from the world to the self within. Keep the mind steady in single-pointed meditation upon the self. You then become the self. You attain the state of self-realization. Realization of the self is defined as desirelessness, thoughtlessness. If that be so, how can the thought of self in meditation bring about the state of thoughtlessness? It seems paradoxical, but it works in actual practice. When you hold the mind focus in single-pointed concentration upon a mantra word symbol, the thought ultimately dissolves into silence, into the enlightened state of thoughtlessness. Shankaracharya explains this phenomena in his text Atma Bodha by the simile of purifying water with a cleansing agent known as Kataka nut powder. The powder acts in the same way as alum does for cleansing water of its impurities. The powder is sprinkled on the surface of the impure water. It forms a slimy film on top. Fine particles of suspended impurities stick to the bottom of the film. The film becomes heavier. It goes down gradually. More impurities stick to it. In the process, all the impurities settle down to the bottom along with the film. The significant part of the process is that the cleansing agent itself settles down along with the impurities. Pure water stands above it. So it is with the process of meditation. The divine self is polluted with thoughts. The thought of the mantra displaces all other thoughts and itself disappears in the heat of meditation, exposing the Supreme Self that lies beyond thought.
So, the principle of meditation is as you think, so you become. The direction in which you channel your thought is where your Shraddha is, where your focus is, and that's where you land up. So, you may have heard earlier, elsewhere, perhaps in the past, that this thing called enlightenment, it's a state of desirelessness, it's a state of thoughtlessness, state of actionlessness. So, how do you achieve thoughtlessness? It almost seems unachievable. How do you have no thought? And here Vedanta is telling you, oh, to achieve self-realization, you have to put in a mantra, you have to chant a mantra. A mantra is a thought. How do I achieve thoughtlessness by chanting a thought? How is that possible? So he gives a beautiful simile, he gives a beautiful example. You guys know alum for cleaning water? I will sure at some point you'll have
Pitchkari.
seen. Correct. So this is what he's calling kataka. I think back in the day, whatever they used to use, similar principle, Kataka. It comes in the Atma Bodha. It's an actual verse in the Atma Bodha, beautiful verse, which talks about how you attain thoughtlessness through the thought of the mantra, through the mantra. So it's like, how do you clean water? Imagine your mind is like water with all sorts of impurities, all sorts of thoughts. How do you clean water? How do you clean how do you remove the impurities? You remove the impurities by putting in another impurity. You put alum. Now you don't want to be drinking alum water. Suppose I gave you alum in your water. Would you want to drink it? But you use the same alum, which is an impurity, to clean all the other impurities. How does that happen? Alum comes, it spreads on the surface, and then it weighs down all the other impurities. So you get a physical separation. You get clean water on top. You get the impurities settled at the bottom. Now, what has the alum done? The alum has displaced all other impurities. That's the role of the alum. Itself getting displaced. Similarly, the mantra, the highest thought, the desire for enlightenment, your spiritual desire, that's also a thought. That's also impurity. It's not thoughtlessness. But it's such a powerful thought, it displaces all other thoughts. It shifts your attention away from them. It makes you disinterested in everything else. It displaces it. It burns it away. And eventually that thought also will have to settle down. Eventually the thought of enlightenment as well, the thought of self-realization itself has to settle down. Just like the alum settles down in the water. So the mantra is that one powerful thought that displaces all other thoughts and itself settles down. Eventually in meditation you have to stop chanting. The end of meditation is when the chant itself stops. No chant. But that sustained chant has dissolved the entire mind. No other thought. When the chant itself stops after sustained meditation, it's like the alum itself dissolving, the alum itself getting displaced. So the mantra itself, so mantra has a role. The role of the mantra is to eliminate all other thoughts, and thereafter itself getting eliminated. What ends up is silence. What ends up is thoughtlessness. What ends up is complete emptiness. In that emptiness, in that thoughtlessness, you attain what is called enlightenment. So the principle of meditation is this: as you think, so you become. Keep focused repetition of a certain thought, and that becomes your reality. That becomes your fate. Now he moves on to a section talking about Om. Very often in meditation, we are given different mantras, and perhaps the most common mantra, or pretty much all other mantras, will always have Om in them. So what is the significance of Om? What is the importance of Om? Why do we see it everywhere? We've been chanting it since we were young, but what is the importance of this symbol? The sound of the universe, as they call it. So very briefly, he talks about the symbol Om, which is used extensively in meditation in this section.
The symbol Om. Om is acclaimed as the most powerful word symbol of Brahman, the supreme reality, God. It is known as Pranava. Pranava means that which pervades life. Om is used in meditation by spiritual seekers. Brahman is the ultimate goal a human being can aspire to reach. One cannot reach it directly through the body, mind, or intellect. Brahman is not something that your sense organs can perceive, nor is it an emotion your mind can feel, nor a thought your intellect can conceive. It remains unknown. Most people need a known idol to reach an unknown ideal. Some need a gross idol with a form, a stone, metal, or any solid substance. Others can do with a subtler form like fire. Thus, fire has been a common idol of worship in many religions. The subtlest idol is sound. It is considered subtlest since only one of the 5 sense organs, ear, can contact it. And of all sounds, Om is acclaimed the most natural, most potent. There are reasons for the choice. 1. Sound can be classified under 2 categories: inarticulate and articulate. Inarticulate sound, also known as intonational, deals with feeling, emotion of the mind, concerns the heart, whereas articulate sound, also known as alphabetical, can be recited in the letters of the alphabet. It deals with knowledge, understanding by the intellect, concerns the head. However, articulate sound has a limited application. It can be transacted only by those who have gone through the particular training, learnt that language. Imagine a Persian meeting a Russian. One tries to communicate to the other in one's language. Neither of them understands the other. But when one laughs or cries, the other instantly knows he is happy or unhappy. Such communication is inarticulate, intonational, a universal way by which even babies and animals can communicate. Music is another example of intonation. The sound of music has a positive effect on beings. It produces great results. The symbol Om has the distinction of being both articulate and inarticulate, alphabetical and intonational. It has a deep philosophical significance. While the chant of Om has an extraordinary effect on human beings, the 2 aspects together help an individual attune with the eternal being.
So, uh, first and foremost, Om is another idol. Om is an idol for a dhyani, one who is in dhyan. Just like a murti is an idol for an initiate, just like a shlok is an idol for a jnani. What is an idol? An idol is a representation of the ideal. An idol is something that represents a powerful idea, entity in a gross form. That's what an idol is. A flag represents the nation. So, a flag has in it compact everything that is nationalism. The enormous weight, feeling, expression of nationalism is put into that compact form of a flag. Similarly, when we think of God and whatever idea we have of God, the first thing is to create a gross idol out of it. Then as you grow in your in your spiritual process, you'll be able to attune to subtler and subtler idols. From a form, you'll perhaps go to a less solid form like fire, or you'll be able to relate to fire as God. Then if you grow from a intellectual perspective, you won't need a form, you'll perhaps need stories. See, if you're more intellectually attuned, you'll be more inspired by the various stories and the different episodes rather than particularly the idol. If you are even further inclined, a shlok of a mantra of the Upanishads will be your idol. That will be what you. All of spirituality will be condensed into, all of your spiritual process will be condensed into those 2 or 3 mantras for you. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti. That's an idol. All of karma yoga is packed into that one mantra, that one shloka. When you grow to the final stage, the highest stage of the spiritual process, then your mantra, either given to you by a guru or something you have found, that becomes your idol. All of God, all of spirituality is packed into that one mantra, and that's why you're simply chanting that. So Om is an idol. That's what you have to first of all understand. All of Brahman, all of God, all of spirituality is packed into this one mantra, Om. That's what it is. It's an idol, and that's why you're chanting it. Now, why is it a reasonable idol? Why is it a chosen idol? Why is it such a powerful and meaningful idol? First of all, he says, because it is both articulate and inarticulate. Articulate wise, he's going to talk about why in an articulate sense it is very powerful. He's going to talk about it in the following point. But even inarticulate, it's almost like the reverberation of Om is very soothing to an individual. And this is not, there's no way to explain this. Your own experience speaks to it. There are some sounds which uplift you. There are some sounds which have the opposite effect. So Om is certainly a sound which it rings to our heart, to our soul. It makes something vibrate from within. So it has both an articulate effect as well as an inarticulate effect. So what is this articulate effect particularly? He's going to talk about in the next point, the second point.
2. Om is constituted of 3 sounds, 3 letters: A, A, U, U, and M, In Sanskrit grammar, A and U coalesce to form O. Thus, A, U, U, and M together is pronounced as Om. Even the mute can produce the sound of Om. A is a guttural sound. It emanates from the throat. There is no sound below the throat. U is the sound produced when it courses through the mouth, and is where it ends, when the lips close. There is no sound beyond that. Thus, Om covers the full range of sound, represents the entire phenomena of sound. The chant of Om produces peace and harmony around.
So it's all pervasive in its sound. the chant of Om is all pervasive in its sound. The entire Sanskrit lexicon, the entire alphabet, as it were, it's entirely based on the uh, the movement of the tongue in, with regards to the palate. First and foremost, the first letters of the Sanskrit alphabet begin from the the guttural sounds. A, E. Where is it beginning from? It's starting here. There's a vibration in the throat. Then it moves from the throat to the top of your palate. Ta, tha, da, dha. Ka, kha, ga, gha. Where's ka? Ka is literally again just above the throat, just above where A began. Then it's ta, tha, da, dha. Then it's ta, tha, da, dha. So what's the difference between ta and ta? In ta, the tongue is at the top, in the back of the palate. Try to say it. Say ta. Where's your tongue? Okay, say ka. Where's the sound originating from? Ka. The sound is originating from here. Ta, the sound is originating from the top of the mouth, almost the back of the mouth. Ta. So it's gone from, so A was all the way down here, Ka was here, Ta is here, it's going to even come further forward now. Ta, where's Ta originating from? From the top of the mouth, like almost just behind the teeth. Ta, ta, ta. There is a distinction between ta and ta. Half the Americans don't understand it because they've not learned this. See, whether we know it or you may not have been taught this, but your tongue was taught it. That's why your tongue was taught it. That's why you can differentiate between ta and ta. Their tongue wasn't taught it. Then after ta, it comes to the mouth. So there's the whole list of, first of all, there's cha. Where's cha? It's literally between the teeth. Cha. After cha, there's pa. There's no teeth involved. There's no tongue involved. Now it's the lips. The last one is ha. There's no tongue, teeth, nothing involved. There's no throat involved. It's just exhalation of air. So the entire range of sound from the throat to the exhalation is covered in the Sanskrit alphabet. But coming back, when you talk about Om, begins from the back of the throat. U is inside the mouth. Is the lips leaving the mouth. So the entire range from the most guttural sound to the mouth to the lips, that entire range is covered by A, U and Ma. Om. We say Om, but it's actually Om. Om. So Om covers the entire range of sound.
3. Om symbolizes the pure consciousness, the consciousness that pervades the waking, dream, and deep sleep states. A represents the world experienced in the waking state of consciousness, while U represents the world of the dream state of consciousness, and M, the nothingness of the deep sleep state of consciousness. While chanting Om, the meditator must focus his concentration on that pure consciousness, the Supreme Self that supports the three states all through life. 4. The mantra word symbol Om does not belong to any religion. It is merely a symbol of the ultimate reality. It represents the pure consciousness, the Supreme God. It is nature's word, not subject to conjugation, inflection, or grammatical manipulation as other words are. Om occupies a very special place with reference to God. God is said to be omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. These words begin with Om. Even prayers in different languages end with Amen, Ameen, which again is a reference to Om.
So, for those of you who are interested in the history of religion and the history of some linguistic details and all of this, can perhaps get into it. But it's undeniable that the history of this word Om is goes far and beyond. There was a time when, say, even where the religions of Christianity and Islam sprung from or had their dominance in, was at one point influenced by Hindu thought, by even Zoroastrianism, for example, has a lot of similarities with the Indic faith. And Om is a mantra that existed even back then, and naturally influenced one way or the other the words like Amen, Ameen. So there's no overarching claims being made out here, and this is not necessarily related to what we're discussing, but it's undeniable that there perhaps is some kind of a relation or a reference, and it belongs to no religion. Just because it has existing in these texts which are called Hindu doesn't mean the mantra Om belongs to Hinduism. In fact, the beauty of Hinduism is its universal appeal. It has no it tries to rather than establish its dominance over another, it tries to find oneness with everything. So save yourself from the idea that, oh, we are the oldest religion, or also that's not the idea behind giving this example. The idea is that it's a universal chant. It's something that is influenced beyond one particular religion. The sound A is strong, hoarse. The sound U is more dreamy. The sound M is sleep. So A, the hoarse, solid sound, represents the solid state of waking. U is, imagine yourself underwater. That sound, that's U. It's like the dreamy state. And M is the state of someone who's sleeping and trying to be woken up. What is the sound they make? They're in sleep. They don't want to be woken up. Represents the nothingness of deep sleep. So, even as far as the three states of consciousness are concerned, you can designate in the form of these three states of consciousness. It covers all three states of consciousness. So, this is more. It's how much significance you give it, essentially. But what's undeniable is that the chant of the mantra Om has a certain intonational effect, a very powerful intonational effect. And of course, as we spoke, that it is the subtlest ideal. The entire essence, the entire meaning of God is compressed into this mantra Om. So it has both an intonational as well as an articulate significance.
In the practice of meditation, the mind chants the mantra Om. Between every two successive chants, there is a momentary silence. That silence is known as amatra. The intellect discriminates between sound and silence, between mantra and amatra. As long as the chant lasts, there is thought flow, which establishes the presence of the mind. And with thoughts flowing, the pair of thought and silence exists for the intellect to continue operating. In the peak of meditation, the chant ends in silence. The thought flow ceases. The mind becomes extinct. There is no longer the pair of thought and silence. Consequently, the intellect ceases. Thus, the meditator transcends both the mind and intellect. His individual self merges with the Supreme Self, gains spiritual enlightenment.
We'll talk a little more about the procedural details, what he's referring to out here in the next section. In the next class, we'll conclude class here. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you again on Wednesday. So first thing on Wednesday, we'll see you in class. Thank you so much. Hari Om.
Hari Om.